friends, in this last and final episode of our series on the gentle path with Saint Porphyrios, allow me to share a brief story that the saint himself tells in the book Wounded by Love at the very end about a pilgrimage that he took with some friends to the island of Patmos. And in this story, I believe we receive implicitly and sort of subtly a blueprint for what I like to call the gentle path of surrender, or the path of gentle surrender, or in other words, and this is a little bit of a tricky one, learning to unexpect the unexpected. And hopefully you'll understand what that means by the end. So St. Porphyrios tells us that he traveled to the island of Patmos with some friends of his for a pilgrimage to the cave of St. John the theologian, where traditionally it is understood that St. John received the vision of the book of Revelation, the Apocalypse, the final book of the New Testament. So they go to the island. It's a beautiful island. I've been once before in Greece, and they have to ascend to the cave, which is about part of the way up the island. I don't remember exactly how far up. They go inside the cave. It's this spacious but dark cave, and it's pretty crowded. And St. Porphyrios kneels down and he prays, and in the middle of all of the pilgrims, he starts to have this incredible spiritual experience where he's actually, experiencing what St. John himself experienced as he is recounting the book of Revelation. But simultaneously, St. Porphyrios recognizes that he's with all of these other people. He's in a public space, and so he decides to remove himself and his friends from that space and to come back at a later time. He says, I'd like to come back when there are fewer people. So they wait till later that evening. They come back. The church and the cave is much quieter, and there are much fewer people there. And he says, you all wait in the back here. I'm going to go up to the front of the chapel, and I'm going to kneel down, and please don't pay attention to anything that happens, as if to indicate that something spiritual might occur and that they should just remain calm. So he goes up to the front, and as he himself describes, he kneels down. He prays the Jesus prayer for about 15 minutes, and nothing happens. Complete inner desolation. He says his heart was like a desert. And a thought occurs to him that these kinds of things, they can't be planned or programmed. You can't just say, well, I experienced this incredible grace earlier on today, but I don't want to make a big scene, so I'm going to come back at 5 p.m., I'll kneel down for 15 minutes, say the Jesus prayer, and the grace of God will just show up. If it were that way, then we would be able to control God, and of course God is free and is beyond our control. There are certain things we can do to draw the grace of God, but we cannot control God. And so he said, these things can't be programmed. So then the question is, what did he do as a result of that? Did he just give up? Did he do 1,000 prostrations? No. He went outside. He looked at the beautiful view. He came back inside. He lit the incense. He incensed around the chapel. He did pretty much nothing. He just went around doing different things and was very simple in his approach. And by doing this, he sort of relieved himself from the pressure of having to figure this out. He goes back to his place in the front of the church, and he kneels down again, and suddenly he is just enveloped with the grace of God. He experiences God's grace in such a powerful degree that he experiences exactly what St. Porphyrios himself, what St. John, the theologian himself, experienced in the vision of the Apocalypse. And so he says, why am I telling you this? I should not be telling you this. Lord, have mercy on me. I tell you this so that you too may learn to surrender yourself simply and gently into the hands of God. This gentle surrender is why he's telling it to them. To not force ourselves, but simply, humbly, and gently to surrender ourselves into the hands of God. And so there's this thought of learning to unexpect the unexpected. Now, what does this mean? I think we know what the phrase expect the unexpected means. That is to say, when you're going into a new circumstance, a new environment, someone might say, expect the unexpected. You never know what will happen. Don't have expectations. Don't have set scenarios in your mind. Don't have set plans. We understand, expect the unexpected. But what does it mean to unexpect the unexpected? It means to, as much as possible, pretend like nothing's wrong. Even when our hearts and our souls are crying out in anguish because of some sort of temptation, because of some sort of loss or suffering that we have, to sort of, as best as we can, live our lives simply and pretend like it's all good. It's okay, nothing's wrong here, there's nothing to see here, and just to kind of continue on in this simple, humble, and gentle way. And when we sort of relax ourselves, try not to be too caught up in the messiness of our own self-pressures and things like that, then that God comes unexpectedly, that God comes gently and kind of swoops in like a thief in the night, and we are filled with the grace of God. So, my dear friends, as we conclude this series of the Gentle Path with St. Porphyrios together, I encourage you all to contemplate this strange and somewhat enigmatic phrase, to unexpect the unexpected. This is something we can only do when we relax ourselves into the grace of God, into the hands of God, when we focus, or when we rather unfocus on the suffering that we are having and focus more generally on the droplets of God's love. And through the grace of God and the prayers of St. Porphyrios, the intercessions of the Mother of God, perhaps we will encounter God in a powerful way, but in a way that is gentle and without force. Love to you all, and I pray that you all would have a blessed day and a blessed spiritual journey.